in the bar. And well, you and Eddie were named also, but I got
They'd been married in Russia?
They were married in Russia.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and he came over, and then I guess it was a couple of years later when he sent for Ethel, and so she and my daddy, who was 2, and Aunt Yetta, who was a baby, like maybe 6 months old, came over on the boat from Russia, just the 3 of
We have
them.
the pictures of that.
In steerage,
Yes.
and steerage is the bottom. I mean, there must have been hundreds of people down where they were below.
Like the movie.
And we have one picture. The only picture we have of our grandmother Ethel is on this boat with
That was
my dad.
1912. That was the Titanic year.
Yes, it was not.
But not that boat.
Wow.
Can I say
Thank
something?
God. Yeah, it was
A
that
long
year.
time ago, when the kids and I lived in California, I took a trip into Mexico, a driving trip. I drove down to Mexico. And one of the scariest things for me was driving and not being able to read the street signs. And I all of a sudden realized what they must have been up against. Here is a man who could not speak the language, and his wife, and 2 babies, and nobody could speak the
And
language.
sent to a city that they didn't know anybody in. They
Right.
were sent to
They
St.
had
Louis.
no money. Can you imagine the guts that took?
Tell them what he did for a living.
Where we all got from.
And he pushed a little wagon. He was a true peddler, correct? He never learned to speak English as long as Elaine and I knew Zeta, who was just spoke Yiddish to us, and never really assimilated with the Americans. Do you think? I don't think Zeta ever did.
So what did he do, sell things off his
Yes,
wagon?
he was a peddler. He
Like,
sold.
any idea what?
Yeah, they just said rags. That's all.
iPods.
Blue DVDs, CDs,
Generation, we're losing them.
Yeah, there goes.
watches.
But they got here and they started having more babies. They were sent to St. Louis. They just went.
Well, then, they weren't told about the birds and the bees either.
No, they weren't. And they lived in a very, very poor section, my dad told me, of St. Louis, and they never knew where the next penny was coming from. So the young ones started working. I mean, I think Daddy and Aunt Yetta started working literally when they were like 11, 12, 13 years old, doing anything that they could do. And then, who came next? Uncle Abe was born next, correct? Very shortly after they got here. And then Uncle Ernie. And then the twins, Aunt Sarah and Uncle Eli. And then just within a year, Grandma Ethel got pregnant again and had another child. And the child and Grandma Ethel died at childbirth. So my daddy was 16 years old. Left really as the head of the family because Zeta just couldn't step up to the plate that we understood. He didn't speak English and he just couldn't do it. So Daddy at 16 and Aunt Yetta at 14 became the parents. And they tried to keep the family in the tent, as I understand, I tell them this right, they tried to keep the family intact in this tenement building. But social services stepped in and took all the 4 younger ones after about a year to an orphanage, correct? And Uncle Abe and Uncle Eli went to one orphanage because they were just a little slower than the other 2. And Aunt Sarah and Uncle Ernie went to another orphanage.
Jewish children.
These were Jewish,
Children,
yeah,
yes,
Jewish orphanage.
And that's when I think the real thing came into play, Elaine, don't you, that your mom and my daddy, I mean, every Sunday, Uncle Ernie told me that they were there to pick them up and bring them over to the house. And he said he remembered Daddy coming to get him every Sunday. They went to the ball game. They went to play ball in the park. They went over to Aunt Yetta's to eat. Aunt Sarah became so loved by one family, they wanted to adopt her. And Aunt Yetta and my daddy said no, that they could take her and enjoy her, but she could not be adopted out. And as each child came out of the orphanage, this is what Uncle Ernie told me, when they were, maybe 17, they went to live with Aunt Yetta and Daddy. And then Daddy felt like he had to make more money, so he went on the road traveling, and he got a job with Eli Walker, and they sent him to Mississippi. And Aunt Yetta was married then to Uncle Willie, and then you take it from there. That your mom brought them all in, and each one came out, and they got them on their feet.
And I remember Uncle Ernie joined the service at a very early age. It was World War II.
Right.
He was in the service. But there are many, many great stories that we've got to tell, like Ethel's dad was such a sports nut He could tell you all the statistics about the Cardinals, and I don't think I ever remember a summer being there without the radio on, listening to the Harry Carey probably, or
The voice
somebody.
of the Cardinals.
Yeah, listening to the Cardinals. And I remember him telling me one of the finest things he ever did, or one of the most wonderful things he ever did, was hitting a home run in Sportsman's Park. It's before Busch Stadium. And he must have been a good ball player on his own.
I think he was pretty good.
Yeah, he was just with the Diablos or somebody, one of his teams that he liked to play ball with. But we have a ton of fun stories to tell you.
One of the biggest things of I think my daddy's life, since he didn't have a boy, was getting to take his nephews, Alan and Rusty and Albert and Sammy, all to ball games. And he would come in to St. Louis, and that was one of the highlights of Daddy's life, getting to enjoy those things with these boys in his life. And then there was one time I don't think he enjoyed it so much. Alan, you tell the story about Rusty and you when Daddy
I knew it was coming. I didn't know where it was coming from.
But it's coming. My daddy was the one that caught y'all.
Let's see. I think this is the one about the cigarettes.
Yep. Yep.
It's the one about the cigarettes. As I recall, they went out, our parents, and left Sammy's brother Rusty and myself alone. Big mistake. My dad and Charlie were both smokers, and we found their cartons of cigarettes. And when we were so stupid, we didn't think they'd notice a couple packs missing. Like 2 hours after they left, or 3 hours after So they came back, and we were immediately busted and lied and said no, and then confessed and cried and went to whatever purgatory we had to go to for paying the price. But, yeah, never ever did anything like that again.
Oh, no.
Yeah, right.
No, never, ever.
But they let us have it. It wasn't just a ha ha ha. I remember it was a very serious.
We have two namesakes for my dad in this group. We have Sammy Charles and we have Donald Charles. So that tradition is going on. Your parents named you after my dad, and we named you after my dad.
And Sarah's
Named
Sarah.
after Aunt Sarah.
Sarah, our daughter, as opposed to our daughter-in-law, is named
Named after
after
my grandma, Sarah.
your parents named you after Sarah, too, your future mother-in-law.
Different Sarah.
Your future grandmother. So, no, Sarah was born just a couple, let's see, my mom died in like 84, and Sarah was born in 85 and never got to meet her. And she came out a girl. That was the quick decision.
All right, we're all gonna walk. Is everybody done? Are we ready?
I just want